City's going to be absent. All right, going to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Saper,
Here.
Councilmember Tull. Here. Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Here.
Councilmember Roberts is absent. Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Palumbi,
Here.
Councilmember Graves.
Present.
All right, thank you. And the Pledge of Allegiance this evening will be led by Councilmember Saper. Next item, the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Oh,
Yes.
one sec. Is this
I'm
where
sorry.
you remove
Yes.
items from consent
Yes,
agenda?
yes, yes, yes.
13, please.
13. All right. 13 will be removed and become the first item on the regular agenda. Instead of unwinding now, I'll just go ahead and call for another motion. Is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries, which takes us to number 13, the appointment to the Parks Board.
Excuse me, we have to do 5 comments from the public.
We do have to do that. I'm sorry, Liz, I took your number here. Number 5, comments from the public.
And we're going to need 5 comments from the public.
You think?
We can get 5 from
I'm
Liz.
Liz Ryan,
Good evening.
2417 Erie, and I'm talking about number 14. We upped it to 20,000 last year for home improvements. Did we use all of that, or?
So Rebuilding Together, Kansas City did use all 20,000, and NI did not. But we did budget it at the full $40,000, which is $20,000 per agreement.
So we have 40,000?
There is 40,000 in the current active budget, so we have them slotted 20,000 for Rebuilding Together, Kansas City, and 20,000 for NNI.
Okay, I was just wondering if we used all of it, if we needed more, because with the cost of all the materials and everything else going up, I just thought maybe we might have to increase it maybe to 25 maybe, or something like that. That's my only concern.
Just real quick, during the budget assessment, we had said if we got close to that line, we would bring that forward to the city council for a budget amendment. Just so you know, we did hear the concern to make sure that was well-funded. So
Okay.
it should that program become incredibly successful, which we hope to, we would bring it forward and ask the city council for additional funding to make sure nobody is denied.
Because I know I've been having repairs to the house, and it's astronomical, and I think a lot of the seniors, and we need to take care of our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments?
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
George Sluter, 800 East 23rd Avenue. Number one, I want to thank the city staff, especially the street department, for the fantastic job getting the leaves up. A lot of leaves in last week, and our street looked very clean, and I drove through the traditional neighborhood as well and saw they've been clean, so fantastic. Number two, I want to compliment you, Mr. Mayor, and the council on the work session. I think it's really great to hear that you're looking at expanding so more citizens can be involved in city government. I want to bring up 2 items. One is the report you got from NNI regarding 2 projects that were done. I'm a retired home builder, as you know, and I looked at both of those projects, and I cannot believe that 1425 East 22nd, it cost over 12 grand, should have been more in the range of 8 grand, in my opinion, for what was done on the thing. I think you need to do some checks and balances in that area. And the other item I want to bring up is on the agenda tonight, you have water and sewer proposed increases to over 20% or 20%. We're a city of a lot of retired people and also a lot of very young people. And I think you're putting an undue burden on a lot of residents with that increase. I think you ought to look at some of the routes with the way you're spending money, especially on capital projects around the city. I think you could maybe give some relief to our homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments? Oh. Yeah. Good evening.
I really just have a clarifying question. Public comments for the water will be later in the agenda, right?
Yes, there
So
will,
if I-
yes, there will be an additional.
Okay, I
public
didn't know if
comments,
you wanted me
yes.
to say it now or wait until that portion.
Either, yeah.
Okay, I was just going to say, in the, Valerie Swearingen, sorry, 2408 Fayette, in the agenda tonight, it talks about 20% increase, and I know one of the work sessions prior, it talked about 20% this year and then 20% next year. I just wanted to make sure that's clear that while it is 20% tonight, is it still going to be 20% next year? Because really, that's 40% in 2 years, and that is a big chunk of change. I don't know if I'm the younger family or the older family in the neighborhood anymore, but it will affect our budget too, and I just want to make sure we're doing things right and not just giving the residents a lot of these upcharges if the city's not spending money appropriately in other areas. So, thank you.
Thank you. We'll get that on the item, I think, right? Yeah, that'll be pretty perfect. Thank you. Further public comments, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Kendra Wyatt, and I'm a guest this evening from Kansas City North. But back from 1997 to 2010, I spent half my life at the Cerner campus. And I raised my 2 little kids as Cerner kids, and I walked those paths, and I spent every day, every week, spending money in North Kansas City. And it struck me, and the reason I'm here, it struck me yesterday hearing about Oracle's, we're moving everybody out. We're going to have an empty campus, a big empty campus. And then this morning, this was my juxtaposition, and again, it's why I just happened to look up when your council meeting was and decided to come out tonight, is that we all as regional citizens are getting asked to fund a $250 million jail. And at the same time, I'm a healthcare provider. I know how depressed and lonely people are because we hear it every day. And I want to say something. It's because we don't have enough multi-generational living together. Because we need to raise our little kids up with older citizens around us. Because many of us come to Kansas City for a job, but that means we leave our parents and our grandparents somewhere else. So I encourage you all, as you hear about ideas, to be bold and to think big. Because the World Cup is coming. There's going to be people from all over the planet coming to Kansas City. And whether that space in Cerner, could that be rezoned to be multi-use? Could you have people living in there? And I do want to acknowledge it would take water and it would take wastewater. But oh my God, what a great idea to get kids involved in the trades. Because we need people who are electricians and plumbers and contractors. And I believe we need more livable communities. And that needs to be for everyone, not just the most rich of us. It's not just about Briarcliff. You should be able to have retail and a grocery store and a neighborhood and a daycare and a pool if you're a hard-working hourly person too. So I called Jerry Nolte, and I'm sure that's all very political, but I called him and I said the exact same thing. And I just said I volunteer. And I would absolutely love to start leasing and be part of an entrepreneurial hub on at least one floor in that building. And be part of people keep the bad stuff out. When buildings go dark, bad things start happening. So I commute all the way to Overland Park. I don't want to do that. I would move my small team and be part of an entrepreneurial hub in a heartbeat. So all I'm asking is to think big and that we're on a world stage and that we need affordable housing and multi-generations and we need to take care of each other and it's taking care of each other that keeps people out of jail in the first place. And that's it. I'm happy to leave my information and I sign up to volunteer and I would like to work in North Kansas City again. I'd like to come back.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Have a good night. Thank you. Further comments from the public? Seeing none, now I can go on to what I was trying to do. No, I got another one. Consent agenda, jeez, all over the place here. No, well, it's the amended consent agenda.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the amended
Move
consent
to
agenda?
approve the amended consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. And now, on the third attempt, I get to go to number 13. Number 13. Councilmember Graves, that was yours.
Okay, so I always have to preface these conversations by stating that I am fully appreciative of everyone that applies to be on boards. I'm appreciative of board members, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I have no beef with anybody specifically. So I pulled item 13, which is Bethany Miles being appointed to the Parks Board, specifically because it appears to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that she is already on the zoning board, and her husband's also on at least one other board. And I'm trying to see if we could diversify the boards and spread it out a little bit and get more people, you know, let's be inclusive, let's get more people involved. It seems like we're appointing the same people over and over and over, including, you know, if we have one household that has 3 or 4 board appointments with one household, that just seems kind of redundant, in my opinion. But on nkc.org, if you go to boards and commission, if you go click on government, boards and commissions, current members, go down to zoning adjustment, Bethany Miles is listed on zoning adjustment.
I do
That's also during the work session why I kind of asked if we could be alerted when there's a vacancy or when someone drops off a board, then, you know, I would appreciate that in that regard. And I'd like to hear what your thoughts are.
That is correct. Yes, we did appoint her to the Board of Zoning at one point several years ago. And that's one of those boards that none of those, I don't even think they've met since they've been appointed. I don't recall when the last time they even met was. So there's not even.
Okay, so my point on that would be, can we then have this put on the next agenda and ask Bethany to drop off of the zoning board, please? And then fill the zoning board with somebody new, perhaps?
Then we're just kind of shuffling people around, right? So I'm going to put someone else on a board that doesn't even have really a chance to meet or do anything. Because, again, I don't know if it's a random one. You don't know if there's any sort of zoning adjustment coming up until it comes up. But based on history, there just hasn't been a lot of meetings. So as much as I've tried to spread some of these out, sometimes I do understand some overlap on stuff like this. You know, this is a resident that's wanting to be more involved and more engaged. And, of course, put her on the BZA, but hasn't really been any action going on. I mean, so I can see both ways.
It's-
There really hasn't been anything going on, and I could see spreading out a little bit more.
From my perspective, just to clarify, because I'm going to get beef over this, but it's a no for me. If we're putting people on multiple boards, I know there are 2 boards that are very overlapping, that you put the same people on 2 boards, and I can understand that. But if we're putting the same person on multiple boards, then that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, we just had a work session talking about how we have all these people at the Citizens Academy. We're trying to get more people involved and be more inclusive and diversify representation. So it doesn't make sense to me. So it's a no for me unless she drops off of the zoning board. And then I'm a yes on that. So just to clarify.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Smith.
So I know Beth pretty well, and she would be an absolutely fantastic pickup for the Parks Board. She's highly qualified, very much project management background, and so she's a great pick for the board. The BZA, as you pointed out, hasn't met. Like, do we know the last time the Board of Zoning Adjustment met?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, so it's been long enough where no one in the room knows. Fair enough. So, I'm not going to speak for her, but if you were to ask her to pick one, I'm sure I know which way she'd go. And then the point about households, they're not the same person. Beth and her husband are 2 different people who have 2 different sets of thoughts and feelings and ideas about things. So having him on one board does not in any way, should not in any way impact whether he's on, or she's on a different board. So just want to put that out there. But I would move to approve the appointment.
Okay, take a second.
Second?
Okay, further councilmember comments? No, I would just add, put her on here, clearly highly qualified through the project management experience as well as seeing some of this community engagement stuff she's done and getting to know her over the years. Someone I think will be a great addition to the Parks Board, but I can also see your point in trying to spread those out as well. Further, councilmember comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
No.
Motion carries. Item number 16, public hearing, rates, water and sewer. Number 17, public hearing, water and sewer rates. Staff report. Did I skip another one?
No.
Thank you.
Mayor and members of the council, based on the July 5th work session to discuss the proposed water and wastewater rate increase for calendar year '23 of 20%, of which the rate for 2022 was increased 20%. This is the second from that 6-year plan, and then it goes down. I don't have the exact amounts. Goes down 15 and 7 respectively, water and sewer, next year. But it starts decreasing per the 6-year plan. But this is the second of the 20% increases. There won't be another 20% based on the plan. But based on the work session, went over the increase, the recommendations. Staff incorporated the increase into the adopted budget. As such, we brought forward ordinance for water and sewer rate adjustments respectively for discussion and consideration tonight.
Did, possibly missed it there, did you address the future year's rates as well? That had come up earlier.
I did not, I will get that.
Yeah, this is the second and final. Nick's got it.
There we go.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. So for the 2024 year, the proposed rate from the plan was 15% for water, 7% for wastewater, and then after that, it goes to more of a CPI-based increase. We did talk about at the July work session that we would continue to look at those rates because of the inflation going on right now and seeing, do we need to make further adjustments? But that is going to be part of our study going into the 2024 year and seeing what the needs are. So we'll probably work with Raftellus again just to make sure that we're bringing forth the best rates possible.
Thank you. And I do think at the note, we do have to remember, these are enterprise funds. I mean, these should be self-funding operations, and we shouldn't be putting other money in or taking money out to do other things. I mean, these are kind of like their own self-contained little businesses here, unless there's a better, Councilmember Palumbi.
Yeah, after hearing several comments made about this, and I do think that we can all agree that inflation rates are higher than maybe any of us anticipated. And there is a heavy burden on the residents and just everyone in general right now. I would say that we should consider this 20% increase because 20% is a significant amount. So I would say that we could reconsider a 15% as opposed to a 20% and to kind of spread out that those rates throughout the next few years just to alleviate some of that burden that, everyone in town and in general is kind of experiencing with just the cost of everything being so much higher. And I think when we first had this initial discussion about trying to make, or rely less on the gaming fund so that we could kind of become self-sufficient with water and sewer, inflation was not what it is today. And so I do think we have to kind of reconsider where things are from a year ago, where the price of everything is just a lot higher, and we need water, we need sewer, so it's not something that we can get without. So I do think that 20% should be something that we may reconsider.
Do we have any idea what that financial impact would be of doing a 15 versus 20? I mean, obviously the same pressures that everyone's seeing, the water fund's feeling as well.
We'd have to calculate that and bring that forward, and also, depending on the decision, a budget amendment.
Okay, further conversation. Councilmember Smith. Okay, Councilmember Toll.
I just wanted to clarify something from comments and for people that are watching. This is not an increase that only impacts residents. Is that correct? Can you explain that a little bit?
Correct. It's across the board. We're also in the beginning stages of the, what's it called? The BODs, yes, the BOD study,
Oh, the surcharge rates.
correct. But you're right, this is not just residential.
And one of the biggest impacts was going to be our commercial clients. I know one of the things, because 20%, when you hear 20%, it's a big number. But in looking at the numbers for residents, it didn't make a huge difference. We were talking like $1.17, I think, was the difference on average when we were looking at the certain size of pipes. But it did make a significant difference in what the city could recoup commercially. And that's why we decided to front load that. But again, this is just me thinking out loud and making sure everybody has all the information about commercial and residential and what that impact could be.
All right, go Smith, Saper, Clark.
So I want to tag on to that. When I remember looking down at the rate increases, I was initially jarred by the 25%. And what made it make sense to me is that we have been propping these funds up, these enterprise funds that need to take care of themselves. We've been propping those up with gaming funds, and it's just not how we're supposed to use our gaming money. That's more for capital projects. And we need to be very, protective of that so that we're not dipping in when, our water and sewer should be self-sustaining. I also remember that we had some of the lowest sewer rates, and correct me if I'm wrong, some of the lowest across the metro area. And even with these increases that seem pretty drastic, we're still going to be below the average across the, if I remember, we're going to be, below all of our neighboring cities. And then the subsidy on the industrial piece. So in effect, there's a few just giant, there's one very large user, and then there's a few much larger users there in the commercial space. And by using gaming funds to prop up the sewer and water, we are in effect subsidizing business with our very important gaming fund that we use for public infrastructure. So I would be in favor of getting these funds to a self-sustaining level as quickly as possible. And as Lisa mentioned, this isn't a massive impact to an actual bill. Like 20% feels big, but relative dollars is quite small, and we're still below the average. So, I see no reason to, I understand 20% is a tough one to swallow, but I think we need to get them there as quickly as we can.
Just briefly out on the history of that as well, we did lower the water rates several years in a row as well, trying to offset some of the sewer, and that's kind of what contributed to a little bit of this here. Councilmember Saper.
My concern is if you look at the water rates as proposed, there's a base rate based upon actually the size of the water meter, and that assumes a certain amount of gallons that are allowed at that level. If you use, I think, in 1,000-gallon increments beyond that level, there is an increase. And if you look at the table, I don't know if you can find that or pull it up now, but it shows that the least users have a larger increase than the greatest users, and that seems like it should be the other way around. And if someone can explain that to me, I would appreciate it. What was the reasoning?
You're referring as the rates, the monthly water usage gets higher, then the rate gets any lower. Yeah, I think it'd be like any commercial user, similar to what we do in Kansas City, because for Kansas City sewer, we're actually charged lower rates than Kansas City residents are as a bulk commercial user.
This is for water rates.
Well, I was using that as an example, but yeah, water rates, I'd assume, very similar. Please.
So for water rates, the base charge, which I believe is going up to $21.34.
Excuse me, attachment to number item 19.
Yes.
Can you find that?
He was just wondering.
Can we get it up on the screen?
He was wondering if it could be pulled up on
Yeah,
the screen.
so we can all
everybody-
see it.
No, the agenda item itself.
To number 19.
Okay, that should do it. Stop. On number 2, item number 2 there. The more you use, the lower the rate. But that puts, again, the lowest users at something of a disadvantage, as Councilman Columbia mentioned. These are times when, in fact, maybe we should inverse, do the inverse, and actually, the lowest users, it seems to me, would pay a lower rate. Now, could you explain the rationale for this?
Well, but, you know, working with Raftellus, this is a fairly standard block rate. You know, there's volume discounts as you use more and more. What I can say is, from an overall perspective, the difference between commercial and residential, commercial is about 80+% of our water and sewer usage in the city. You know, having not done the study and working with Raftellus, so we're relying on their expertise when they're helping us put this together.
Well, my feeling is at this point, we should actually shift the burden more to the largest users and have the increase.
Let me ask it a different way, because I think it'd kind of be like taking a look at all the individual meters, right? How much does that take to do 100 individual meters versus sending someone out to do one bulk meter at Ingredion or somewhere, right?
Well, it's done electronically.
Oh, it is all scanned.
Yeah, so.
The general idea, but the same overhead in general, but go ahead.
It's, if I understand correctly what you're asking, but item 2, so everybody's going to pay the 167 for the 3,501 gallons to 10,000 gallons. And then anyone that uses over 10,000, they're going to pay that 167 for that amount, but then it's going to go to 164 for the next amount. So it's in a sense, it's not that they're paying less than a residential. Residential is typically 3,500 to 5,000 gallons. Right.
Yes, it's like a building block.
As they use more water, then the rate goes down. Correct.
Their overall bills
Thank
will
you.
go up, but their per gallon charges. Yes, okay. Councilmember Clark was the next one if you are done. Thank you. Councilmember Clark.
Yeah, I think, Tony, you were thinking like 167 transforms into 164 for everything. Yeah, no. I was also questioning the fixed rate that happens where we base it off of the wintertime usage. That still exists, so that opportunity is still there if there's some.
Winter averaging?
Yeah,
Yes.
winter averaging. I'm not going to use the right, thank you. She's like, is that what you're trying to say? Yes, so winter averaging is still an opportunity for us to still have that savings, you know, over the summer months, springtime, things like that. What months are those again that you guys are, hey, Nick?
So that is usage from December through February. So during those 3 months, which are typically lower water usage months, residents only, single-family residents.
So it's not commercial?
It's not commercial.
Commercial doesn't get that opportunity, I think, just to clear that.
Yes.
But I think that's a huge opportunity for residents to take advantage of, is to have that fixed rate throughout the year, because we all know we use a ton of water in the summer. It definitely helped me. So that's something to focus on. Sadly, I am for pulling the Band-Aid, because when we did review this before, it made sense to go, we got to do it. We can't keep relying on, and it does, it makes it, to Jesse's point, it's like to subsidize businesses. We can't continue to do that. That doesn't help residents to subsidize businesses and water rates. And I understand it's going to affect businesses. It's going to affect all of us. But I think there are still measures that we can do to try to be more conservative as we hit this balance, and then it starts to decrease, because we have had decreased water. I mean, our water bills are super cheap. I'm sorry, but having lived in Brookside and water bills are crazy expensive, we've got cheap water.
All right, here we go. There'll be more time for discussion, but I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing now, because that is the next step in the process here. So we can do another round here. Anyone wishing from the, man, I'm all backwards here. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please?
Is there
Good
your
evening
discussion
again.
on this thing? Just to give you some perspective, the 2020-21 year for me, my average water bill and sewer bill was $42. The 21-22 went to 57. So if you add 20% onto that, you're just compounding onto it and raising it. You're raising it more than 20%, because your compounding action is happened from last year to this year and then the next year on the thing. I think you really need to consider this and give some residents some break.
Thank you. Further public comments? Good evening.
Roberta Larson, 3000 Gentry Park, and my water bill this month was $170. It was $40 water and 100 and whatever 30 for sewer. And I did sign up for that winterization. Last month I came down and the girl at City Hall helped me get into that, and so it lowered my bill that. But this month it was back up to 170. I just went ahead and paid it. I thought, you know, the old story, you can't fight City Hall. So I just paid my 170. So I know we have, we do use a sprinkler system, but I'll be anxious to see what it's going to be like since we won't be using it for a few months. So I just don't know why my bill was 170, so.
To speak to
We're
that, mine is
gonna
about like
finish the
that.
public hearings first, and then we'll let you do. Let's knock out the order here real quick.
Yours was 170? Yeah,
There we
okay.
go.
So when
Okay.
you talk about low rates, I don't know where they're coming from because it didn't work out for me.
Thank you. Let me get this part done. Okay, further public comments. Good evening again.
Hello again, Valerie Swearingen, 2408 Fayette. Now that I've listened to you talk, I have a couple extra things I just want to add. Ours is easily $100 every month too. So $20 might not be a lot to raise it, and then another 20 next year and so on. But I have 2 people in my household that work. I'm luckily not on a fixed income. I mean, some people, I don't know. So that's one soapbox I'm not going to stay on. Just thank you for commenting on maybe spreading it out a little bit more. One of the things I have said forever is that the gaming fund should not be used like we've been using it. I love that the city council is getting away from that because I think that's destined to fail us. So I love that we're finding ways around it. But to have one huge company and a couple others be the main reason why we're doing this to everybody in the city is a little bit frustrating. Can there not be like a commercial rate for water bills and a residential rate for water bills? I don't know if that's an option. I don't know how that works. But it just seems a little crazy with all of the spending that happens in this city that this is becoming what it is. Like, I'm lucky I can pay my water bill, but a lot of people can't. And is this the hill that you guys want to fight or the die on, you know, that we're going to raise water rates to make us look just like neighbors next to us? We're not Parkville. We're not Avondale. We're not any of these guys. We're Northtown, and we want to stay in Northtown. So anytime I hear y'all, no offense, talking about, well, we want to be more like our neighbors, I don't want to be more like our neighbors. I want Northtown to be like what's good about Northtown, and we take care of utilities, and we take care of our police force and our fires, you know, all of that. And please stop saying, well, we got to be more like our neighbors, because we're not. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Further public comments? With that, is there a motion to close the public hearing? Do I need one, right?
Move to close the public hearing.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No. That clears us of item number 17, puts us on to item number 18, and we go back to council member discussion. Councilmember Graves.
Okay, so I got a lot of thoughts on this. Let me just kind of download on you guys what I'm thinking. First, before I forget, regarding the residents and having over $100 water bills, this might be applicable to you. This has happened twice in my existence here in Northtown, where I've had exorbitantly high water bills, and they were actually from leaks at my property. This might be applicable to you, perhaps not. But at one time, I had a leaking toilet that was causing a high water bill, and it wasn't making a sound. I had no idea that it was leaking. And then just recently, I had a house that had the water supply line going from the street to the house was leaking underground. It did not cause a puddle. There was no evidence that it was leaking whatsoever inside the house. And I did some research and came to find out that these galvanized pipes that we have in our water supply lines from your meter to your house, many of them are 100 years old. And guess what the life expectancy of galvanized pipes are? They're like 80 years. So we have a huge, here in Northtown, all of us that live in these older houses in the avenues, and then over here in like the Ward 1 area, many of us have pipes that are either failing or are about to fail. And it's extremely expensive if you have to have somebody come and dig up your yard and replace your water line. So to circle back around, Liz Ryan mentioned the home improvements funds, and that's something that I think that we might be able to help people out. They're elderly or on fixed income if their pipes break, because it can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000 to fix that. It's not a joke. Furthermore, just going back, we did 2 work sessions on the water and sewer. I'm going off memory now, so it's oftentimes wrong, but I was told the first session that the previous council, so this is before I was here, were subsidizing people's water and sewer rates with gaming funds. And so that was never supposed to be done, and they were supposed to stop doing that and didn't get rid of it because of COVID. When COVID happened, they delayed removing these subsidies. And I was at the first work session. I know that I proposed they gave us 2 scenarios. They were basically like, we can rip the Band-Aid off and just completely end subsidies, or we can kind of wean people off. And I was on the wean people off bandwagon, and at one point in time, I was trying to negotiate some type of compromise, and it didn't happen. We ended up settling on just removing the subsidies entirely, which was supposed to be done, like I said, by the previous council pre-COVID, and didn't happen. So then the second work session that we had, the more recent one, one thing that came up during that shocked me was we're supposed to have money in reserves in these accounts. And one of them, I believe it was the sewer account, had like 9 days of reserves. It was an extremely low number. 2 days reserves. Like the account is broke. There's no money in there, which is completely irresponsible. It would be irresponsible of us not to do something in regards to this. So then a bigger picture item that I don't know if people are aware of, it was just touched on by the city administrator. We are doing studies right now on our water system in North Kansas City, because I've talked to the city and about this. We have extremely old water pipes. Our water mains are in some places 100 years old. We have been playing whack-a-mole, where we just sit around and wait for stuff to break. And then when it breaks, like we had one bust over at Armour and Burlington, and it caused a road closure. The ground swelled, like broke the street. It was a disaster. So we're sitting here waiting for these 100-year-old water mains to break. And what we need to be doing, and what we're intending on doing, is systematically, once we get this water study done, going through and having a plan to start systematically replacing and updating this water system that we have. It should have been done, honestly, decades ago. And so this is a very difficult position that we're put in up here, because sometimes we have to do things that are the responsible thing to do for the city that honestly should have been done by people up here decades ago, and they didn't do it. And so then we get put in this position where sometimes we have to do things that are the adult, not fun thing where, when I'm out walking my dog, I get yelled at by people about their water bill stuff. It's not fun, but sometimes you have to do the responsible thing. So I was initially under the impression that we should wean ourselves off of these subsidies, but after I saw that shockingly low sewer reserve fund, I think that we just have to do this. And I'm sorry, I know people are upset. I don't know if there's some way that we can have another fund set aside for people that are, because I'm very concerned about people on fixed income, elderly, retired people, things of that nature. I want to help those people. I don't want people to feel like they can't afford to live here. But we need the gaming funds for capital improvements, like updating our entire water system, which is going to cost a massive amount of money. So sorry for talking so long, but that's my thoughts.
Councilmember Graves actually covered most of what I was planning on saying in that, but I think just to add my own thoughts, I really don't like the idea of increasing the rates. We've heard several comments from the public talking about that. But that being said, there's almost no fund balance left in these funds. We've been using the gaming fund to subsidize these. One nice thing North Kansas City has is the city doesn't have any debt. A lot of that is because we have the gaming fund available to pay for some of those, so we might be kind of hurting ourselves if we run the gaming fund too low and need to start paying interest and that type of thing going forward.
No, he hit on a couple, Councilmember Graves hit on a couple things. I'm excited and nervous for at the same time. The stormwater master plan, the wastewater master plan, of course, looking at our water distribution system as well. You know, I'm not sure it's going to get a lot easier for several years when we start digging up and start getting some of this stuff done. But that's why we're doing the master plan, to see where exactly what that looks like and start trying to long-term plan this a little bit better than we have in the past. Councilmember Toll, yeah, okay. Okay, you had already. Okay.
All right. So to respond to a couple of the comments, so Roberta, when I run my sprinklers, my bill is very similar to yours, the 150 to 180 range, depending on sprinkler settings. I turned them off this past month and it dropped off the table. So that's very likely. I mean, it could also be a leak, as Councilmember Graves checked. If you want somebody to come over and opine on if the toilet's leaking, give me a call. You know how to get a hold of me. And then just want to make sure that my statement earlier wasn't misconstrued. I didn't want to say we need to be like our neighbors. I wanted to say that we're still lower than our neighboring rates, even with the increases. So I don't want to be Avondale either, that's for sure. And then this, you know, a part of our overarching strategic plan is talks about environmental stewardship. One way to lower water use and, you know, help the environment is to disincentivize the use of water. This isn't the intent, but it will have the knock-on effect. I'm not running my sprinklers for an extra month this year because of the increased rates, and others may do the same, so we'll save a little water that way. And this is what the experts are recommending, so I'm in the camp of going with what the experts are telling us, so I'm in favor of raising the rates.
You see my yard, you know I'm not running mine.
Do we need a motion? Or
No, Councilmember Toll had one there.
Yeah, you covered part of what I was going to say, and then the other part, Councilman Graves, you put it really well, so I agree with everything that you said as well. If we were to subsidize residential, that money has to come from somewhere. So if we would be trading polling from the gaming fund, polling from somewhere else. And as all the experts in all the meetings that we had before this is a fund that should be self-sufficient. So it is what it is, I guess, in that regard. And I don't see a way around it. I know that Councilman Graves said it way more eloquently than I did, but I don't see a way around it.
Councilmember Clark.
I'll just reiterate the same. It was really well put. It's a burden that's fallen on us because it was delayed and delayed and put off and delayed again, and now it's just landed on us that we have to pull the trigger. And I realize people think that this just was presented to us tonight, but it's just something, I think since we've joined council, some of us, that we've had to review and know about, and that we did put off, from COVID and things like that. But yeah, I'm honestly concerned about your bill being 170 because I'm in a family of 4 and ours is around $50 a month. Come talk to me. I know ways. No, just to be conservative with your money. But I also have a front yard that's made of mulch. So, but then I had to spend $2,000 for termite treatment. So there's a toss up there. So.
She just runs the line to her neighbor's house. I'm kidding. Okay.
Are we on item 18?
Farther, we are on number 18 is currently the item we are on. Further council member comments. Okay, is there a
first reading?
Motion? There's a first reading.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No. Motion carries. We were all yeses.
An ordinance establishing new sewer service charges, amending section 13.08.020 sewer charges of the code of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri.
Move that bill number 7717 be placed on second and final reading and pass this ordinance number 9514.
Second.
All right, final chance for comments. Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Saper? Yes. Councilmember Toll?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
Yes. Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
That was a half yes.
An ordinance establishing new sewer service charges, amending section 13.08.020 sewer charges of the code of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri.
All right.
Item 19, water rates for calendar year 2023, Bill number 7716, ordinance number 9513.
First reading?
Second.
Any council member comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance amending the code of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri by repealing subparagraphs 1 and 2 of paragraph B of section 13.04.140 water rates and charges and enacting in lieu thereof new subparagraphs 1 and 2 of paragraph B of section 13.04.140 of the code.
I move that bill number 7716 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9513.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Saper? Yes. Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
An ordinance amending the code of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri by repealing subparagraphs 1 and 2 of paragraph B of section 13.04.140 water rates and charges and enacting in lieu thereof new subparagraphs 1 and 2 of paragraph B of section 13.04.140 of the code.
We got you some shorter titles tonight. Good. Number 20, Tennemic Final Plat, Bill number 7718, ordinance number 9515, and that would be Shu. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This item in front of you is a petition of a final plat filed by Tennemic. This final plat is for Tennemic Addition. It is a replat for the current Tennemic lots and previously unoccupied tract of lands. The applicant proposed to replat the existing 22 acres to 3 different lots, lot 1, 2, 3, and a tract, which is tract A. So lot 1 is the existing Tennemic building, which is used for manufacturing and warehousing, and lot 2 and 3 will be used for expansion of the future Tennemic plant for warehousing uses. Tract A will be deemed to be common space, which will also hold a detention area, as far as the plan indicates. So this final plat has went to Planning Commission on October the 13th, and the Planning Commission recommended approval. Staff recommend you to approve it, and I'm open to questions.
It's one of those we recommended to ourselves. There we go. Any questions? Any council member questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
First reading?
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance approving the final plat of Tennemic Addition, a subdivision in the southwest quarter, section 14, township 50 north, range 33 west, in the city of North Kansas City, Clay County, Missouri.
I move that bill number 7718 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9515.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
An ordinance approving the final plat of Tennemic Addition, a subdivision in the southwest corner, section 14, township 50 north, range 33 west, in the city of North Kansas City, Clay County, Missouri.
Back to you.
An ordinance, wait a minute. Approving accounts due and payable by the city through October 28th, 2022. Bill number 7719, ordinance number 9516.
First reading?
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
That was a very soft yes, but that passes. Any noes? No.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through October 28th, 2022.
I move that bill number 7719 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9516.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through October 28th, 2022.
Yeah, I shifted my paperwork. This is what I get. 21-22 staff comments. What do we got this evening?
All right, other than items of note, or notes and the reports in the packet, I believe Crystal Dawson, Shoewood have additional comments for tonight.
Fantastic.
Okay. I just want to remind everyone to let me know if you can attend the Joint Hospital Council Dinner on November 28th. That'll be held at the hospital. And the Harrah's grant application went out yesterday, and we're hoping on the December 20th meeting at the work session, we can go over the items from that. Okay?
Can't wait. Thank you.
All right, my turn? Okay, this is some good news. So I would just say the first one, I want to appreciate everybody helped me to get familiar with the business in North Kansas City and all the support from council members and staff, that we do believe that we were awarded for 2 PSP grant, which is the Planning Sustainable Places, that's being administered by MARC, the Mid-America Regional Council. One of the project is for our multi-county regional ped and bike plan that we're partnering up with Riverside and Kansas City, Missouri. So we'll do a study on the levee trail along our hillside levee, which is north of our Macon Park. We'll see how we can connect to our current bike and ped system. And then the second PSP, the Planning Sustainable Places grant that we were awarded, was for the riverfront levee. So this one is a study, also a feasibility study that we're going to look at to see how we can build a riverfront levee trail, which will be really cool in North Kansas City, and how we can tie the system up. So the first one, that in cooperation with Kansas City, we should see a proceeding of the study start from maybe mid-January or early next year. And the second one, we intentionally kind of separate these 2 projects a little bit so we can get a better public engagement and inputs. So the second one, we will actually start working on the RFP, the request for proposal, to be released at the end of January. And we should probably see the feasibility studies kick off maybe sometime in late May or early June. So those are the 2 Planning Sustainable Places grants that I wanted you to know, that those are the planning efforts that staff endorse. And then the second one we do want to mention quickly is the STP fund. That's the Surface Transportation Project. The grants that we typically pursue in the past years, that's for construction. We have been engaged with some of members on the council members about the shared use path that we're doing a feasibility study currently to connect our Diamond Parkway to 14th Avenue. So we also pursued a federal grant to construct this shared use path. We believe that we will be able to get awarded for this grant. The finalized approval will be done by the end of this year, I believe. So I would say happy Thanksgiving to everybody, but thank you for all your support.
Which I believe I now sit on the Active Transportation Programming Committee. It passed out of there, and now we're waiting on TTPC and then Board of Director approval, but it's on a good path for the 14th Avenue connector. Perfect, thank you. Good updates. You got some grant money, Mike? Where's the grant? Not kidding. That's hard to follow. Okay. Okay, anyone else? Grant money? Tom, Parsi? No? Okay. We'll have to go to council member comments, and thank you for the updates. Councilmember Saper.
No comments this evening.
Councilmember Toll.
It's wonderful news on the grants. That's really exciting. And Chief Freeman isn't here, but I wanted to congratulate him on the award that he received last week, the Clarence Kelly Award. That was a really big deal. So you'll have to tell him we say congratulations.
Councilmember Smith.
Just one thing for me. So between the last meeting and now, I put it out on social media, but my house was robbed. Somebody walked into my open garage and took some stuff out of my vehicles, and I want to commend the North KCPD for being incredibly quick to get there. I put in the call, and within a couple minutes, there were 3 or 4 units at my house taking statements and filing reports, checking around to see if any suspicious vehicles emerged or people were there. They even went to check on some of my rental properties because the keys went missing. And they were just extremely responsive and incredibly found all the stuff the very next day up in Gladstone. So they coordinated with another unit and were able to return all the stuff. I say that to say, A, we have a top-notch police force. Thank you very much. And to encourage my neighbors and friends in the city to not leave your garage doors open, even for a few minutes. We were home. We'd been home for maybe 5 to 10 minutes when this happened. So shut your garage door, even if you're doing yard work. And then I would also encourage people to set a daily reminder to lock your doors in the evening. As you walk out on your porch, check to see if your neighbor has package sitting out there and let them know. So just kind of be generally keeping an eye on things. But the garage doors are big. It's a big point of vulnerability. So just putting it out there.
Sounded like you had quite the rekeying exercise there. Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Well, maybe just as a reminder, if anybody not aware or whatnot, but there's an election a week from today, so just go out and vote. I know at the Clay County Annex, there's no excuse in-person early voting all this week and on Saturday too, so there's a couple opportunities if you can't get to the polls next week even.
Councilmember Clark.
Yeah, to Jesse's point, extend your trusted devices and authentication. I had my phone stolen. My life was ruined for about half a week because everything was tied to just my phone number because I'm not smart. And the cops were great helping me along the way, but I know that their hands were kind of tied to be like, I mean, there's only so many things we can do legally and you'll probably not get your phone back. So I knocked on the door and got it back. It was scary, but I got it back. So, but extend your trusted devices to other people so that you don't just use that. That's my point and tip for you. This Saturday, November 5th, is the Zeke's Bacon fundraiser. We had a North Kansas City employee. He's a bike mechanic. He actually fell victim to a potential hit and run. He doesn't recall the incident, but he has a skull fracture, broken clavicle and ribs. He has no use of the left side of his body right now, but he is recovering. He doesn't have a brain injury, thankfully. But we are raising money to help cover the cost of like his rent and utilities and things like that. It's a pretty awesome campaign online now that's already hit almost 30 grand, I think on a goal of 5,000. But there'll be a silent auction at Vila Garage Saturday, November 5th at noon. And I wanted to see, do we have any update on the application for the grant for River Forest Park?
I plan to submit the grant application. I'm actually going for 2. I gotta live up to Shu here. We have a unspoken, because I haven't told her it's a competition yet, but I guess I just have.
Thanks.
My plan is to do that before Thanksgiving. The portal actually closes at the end of November, but my
Excellent.
goal is to have both of them completed by November 15th.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And awesome announcements as well, Shu. Thanks, everybody.
Now I got a note, Chief Hargis is also on the grant board too already, and Kim had one earlier this year, so we got yeah, she got a 700 from Clay County, so that's a tough one too. Councilmember Palumbi.
I've got 2 things. The first thing I wanted to remind everyone, even though today was unusually warm, to make sure that we're thinking about cold weather plans, because it will be cold soon enough in town. And then my second thing is a PSA from a public health thing. We are seeing pre-COVID levels of flu back at the hospital. So if you are high risk for complications, or if you're someone who usually gets the flu shot, it's not too late to get one, because, yeah, we're seeing some pretty severe influenza cases. So that's my health soapbox.
Thank you, Councilmember Graves.
2 things. Number 1, I'm very appreciative of our leaf suction truck that we have here in North Kansas City. I remember talking about this last time the leaves fell, and there's residents that voiced concern, and so I wanted to pass this on. Is there any way that we can give people a heads up when the leaf truck's out? Not really? Can you speak to that? Because we get this every year. People are like, the leaf truck came by, and I would have raked, but I didn't know it was coming today, that sort of thing.
So the more I've learned about it now, it's heavily dependent on the weather and dependent on just kind of staff timing. They try to start Monday and Tuesday and start to work through the neighborhoods. Sometimes weather can delay that, but I guess to say anything towards that, I would say if they want to shoot for Mondays and Tuesdays, that's usually a good time to get them out. Typically after the weekend, people like to rake and get things over the weekends done. So that's not a bad time, but again, it can really vary.
So generally speaking, Mondays, Tuesdays, but I guess I have to ask, because this is what people are going to ask. I don't know if this is possible or if this is too complicated, but is there a way that the leaf truck guy can put something out on social media, some way, textcaster,
Just gonna stick
say,
a
hey, guess
GPS
what,
in.
folks, we're gonna be out in the avenues today with the leaf truck.
It would be
Is that-
really hard, just because it takes all of our crew to get through the entire city, usually the 4 or 5 days of the week. So they really try to hit it hard Monday and Tuesday, but then as different things come up, different weather issues, different other street issues that come up, they get pulled off for different things. So it's such a variable thing. But yeah, very generally speaking, I would say Mondays and Tuesdays are the
Okay.
best times.
The reason I ask stuff like that publicly is now when people ask, I can send them a YouTube link and be like, here you go. I asked your question. Here's the answer. And then there's something else that's kind of a big picture thing that I want to put out there just into the ether. And the city council people actually listen up. Like, this is something that I want community involvement, and I invite all of you to be involved with. There's a park that I don't know if people realize the city owns called Memorial Park that's right in front of the high school. It's that kind of weird triangle where there's a Statue of Liberty and some memorials out there. So if you go look at it, it's kind of been forgotten. There's like a display that says honor roll, and it's empty. There's a plaque in there that says, to those who have served the armed forces for freedom and democracy. And it got me thinking. I've had a couple things in my life that have happened just this year that got me thinking about that space, because just randomly I met this guy named Don Ballard, who used to be a cop and firefighter, and there's laughter taking place because he is kind of a character. And he and I knew somebody mutually, and he used to be a North Kansas City police officer as well as a firefighter, and he's an older gentleman, and he is a Medal of Honor recipient. And I did some research, and there's only 65 living Medal of Honor recipients. And so he told me, he goes, I think that there's something. He realized I'm in North Kansas City, and he was like, I think that I'm memorialized in North Kansas City. I went and looked, and he's not. He's not. And I would love for us to find a way to honor people like that. And then I think that's a perfect space. And then recently, just coincidentally, I was in a town called Ottawa, Kansas, and they have a courthouse. They have like an old school like town square that's literally kind of like Liberty, where there's like a courthouse in the middle and like a square. And they had something similar that I thought was really cool, moving, where they had all the wars listed, and then all of their people from their community that had served in those wars were listed. You know, Korean War, World War I, Vietnam, etc. And I thought that was really cool. And then obviously we've kind of talked about it, but it hasn't gone anywhere to my knowledge. But Officer Vasquez, we need to do something to honor him in our community. And we've done a work session like on the town square that kind of fizzled out. But I think that this is an underutilized space that the city owns, whether you guys know that or not. We own that space, and it's just kind of just sitting there. And I think that's a perfect space that we could do something really cool with. So I'm encouraging everyone to, next time you're walking, just go there, check it out. If you have ideas for it, share it with me, share it with your council representative if you have a relationship with them. And the council people and the mayor, I encourage you guys, next time you're walking by, just go there and just kind of check it out and reflect. And let's come up with some cool ideas to use that space. Thank you.
Thank you. There's more to come, definitely on some sort of memorial still. It's very early stages. I know there's been some meetings and some more coming up related to that. So there will be more eventually to come out on that. And now I'm going to hit on Anthony Sands as he's typing away on that phone. Have you heard anything from the ARPA grants from the state yet? They said they're going to award them after October 12th. And unless I'm really getting lost here, we are now in November.
I have not, no. I look every day. But, yeah,
Me too. That's why I keep refreshing that page. Okay. Maybe next year. All right. Thank you. No further comments from me. Number 25. Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city councilor to be held on this day on a potential litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610-0211. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, call the roll, please. You caught me. I saw.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi,
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
Yes.
All right, number 26, consideration of request to hold and recess into executive session as requested by the city councilor to be held on the state on a potential litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610-0211.
Move to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi,
Yes.
Councilmember Gray.
Yes.
With that, there will be no further votes or public business. Yes, that way. No, threw me off my. There'll be no further public business discussed or votes taken this evening. Good night. There you go. Threw me off my.